The real reason why the state of Florida is going to war on spring break. Do you guys remember how I made videos about SB 1718, Florida's new immigration laws enacted by Governor Ron DeSantis? On the video series that I made last year that upset a lot of people, I talked thoroughly about how the vast majority of people that came to the state of Florida during the summertime were not coming here for spring break. There are people from Latin America. They come to Florida during the summertime to take advantage of the lower cost of hotels, because in the wintertime, snowbirding drives up the cost of hotels. Thus, many people traveling from Latin America would come to the state of Florida during the summertime because it's more affordable. Thus, SB 1718, Florida's anti-Hispanic law, takes place, and many people that were traveling to Florida to vacation during the summer decided, because the state of Florida's stance on immigration, that they would no longer vacation in Florida. Now, let's understand something really quick here. There's a difference between enforcing immigration laws and having anti-Hispanic sentiment. The reason people from Latin America stopped coming to Florida wasn't because of immigration issues, because again, they're coming here legally to vacation, but because this law clearly denoted anti-Hispanic sentiment. Thus, they felt that if they were traveling to Florida to vacation, that they would end up getting disrespected. Thus, people who were legally traveling to Florida said, hey, we're not going to travel or vacation in Florida because we're being disrespected. So let's understand the difference between enforcing immigration laws and spreading anti-Hispanic rhetoric. That's exactly what the state of Florida did last year with SB 1718, and it resulted in the economical impact of Latinos from Latin America not coming to Florida to vacation. But what the state of Florida failed to notice was that South Florida was being supported economically through tourism because of Latin American travelers, who after 1718, Ron DeSantis' anti-Hispanic law, decided that they were no longer going to come to Florida. This impacted the state negatively, and I actually made a video series explaining this last year on our YouTube channel. So what did the state of Florida find out after SB 1718 is that about 60% of the tourism that we were having during the summertime in South Florida was coming from Latin America. Thus, starting in 2024, it would be clear and obvious that SB 1718 pretty much destroyed Florida's tourism economy, which depended greatly during the summertime and the off-season on people from Latin America. So what does the state of Florida do to scapegoat their responsibility for this law destroying tourism in South Florida? They blame it on spring break. So now, this time of the year is the summer. People from up north stop coming to Florida. The only people who come to Florida during the summer are some spring breakers. The vast majority of them don't even come to South Florida. They go to the Florida Panhandle because it's more affordable. But now all these businesses along the coast in South Florida are suffering dearly because of SB 1718, and the state of Florida saying, hey, we're shutting down spring break. But these business owners down here are not stupid. They know that what was supporting their businesses wasn't spring break. Spring break has never been a significant source of income for businesses in South Florida. That's the case in Daytona Beach, maybe in Jacksonville Beach, certainly the case along the Florida Panhandle. But South Florida has never depended on spring break. It's been a minor event for the economy. But what was a major blow to the economy is the fact that now people from Latin America are not traveling to Florida anymore, and these businesses are suffering greatly. We did a rough survey of people that were on the beaches of Bradenton Beach before 1718, and about 85% of the people that were on the beach before the law were of Latin American origin. After SB 17, less than 5% of the people enjoying the beaches are now Hispanic. In fact, we just did spring break in Siesta Key, and we barely saw any Spanish people. All those people that were playing loud music on the beach and going to restaurants and staying in hotels during the summertime here in Florida were not native Florida illegals. They were tourists from Latin America. And now the beaches are empty, the hotels are crying, the restaurants are saying, where are the customers at? And the state of Florida is saying, well, the reason we don't have tourism this year is because we've canceled spring break. SB 1718 destroyed Florida's summertime tourism, and now the state of Florida is pretending like spring break is the problem because they're trying to cover up the fact that they literally destroyed the largest sector of Florida's tourism during the summertime when hotels are quite literally empty otherwise. Now the state of Florida can backtrack and try to change the laws and try to change their tone about immigration to try to bring these people back. The problem is they're not coming back. You disrespected them, and they know that Florida is anti-Hispanic now, and they're not going to come spend their money here. They're probably going to go to California or Mexico or somewhere else, and that means that those people that used to solely travel to Florida are no longer going to come here. You destroyed Florida's tourism during the summertime, and in South Florida, let me tell you, we don't really have too much going on during the summertime. The state of Florida depends on those people because otherwise, literally nobody comes to Florida during the summertime from up north. It just doesn't happen. Even during the wintertime, snowbird season has been on and off. We had COVID, we had the red tide. So even the wintertime tourism isn't looking too strong in Florida. Hurricane Michael did a lot of damage to the Florida Panhandle, and that brought some tourism further into Florida. And then Hurricane Ian destroyed Southwest Florida. Florida's tourism has been hit back to back by disaster after disaster. And the only thing that was holding it all together is that during the summertime, people from Latin America would take advantage of the lower hotel rates to come up here and enjoy our beaches. So how does the state of Florida not understand how their tourism works? Well, South Florida is the economical powerhouse of Florida. All the large cities and population are in South Florida. South Florida and North Florida are very different. Just so you understand how different South Florida is from North Florida, in the Florida Panhandle, they get most of their tourism during the summertime, and in South Florida, get most of our tourism in the wintertime. The snowbirding seasons are completely the opposite, even though it's within the same state. And that is because the water temperatures along the Florida Panhandle are too cold to swim during the winter. Now, Miami Beach has always been a horrible destination. Everything that's illicit and illegal has been done openly in Miami Beach for decades. So I don't really have a problem of cleaning up Miami Beach, but it seems like the timing of this decision is kind of controversial. I wish Miami Beach was more like Siesta Key or like Panama City Beach, but unfortunately Miami Beach has just been nothing more than a crime hub. Everything that's illegal, immoral, and illicit comes around Miami Beach to the point where it's not even pleasant to visit Miami Beach because of all of the illegal activity. Walking through Miami Beach, you can smell the illegal substances in the air. You can see fights, normal day-to-day activity. Miami Beach is an absolute hub for crime. There's nothing wrong with cleaning up that scene. However, to blame it solely on spring break is kind of to stretch the truth. It's an year-round horrible destination because crime is present there throughout the entire year, and to say it's only during spring break, get the crap out of here. Just like Miami Beach draws a bad crowd, so does Panama City Beach. Now, the problem with Panama City Beach is the adjacent cities of Birmingham, Atlanta, Montgomery, on and on. We could go about all of the bad high crime rate cities that are adjacent to Panama City Beach. The adjacent states of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana have the highest homicide rates in the entire country. So it makes sense that when people from those states come to Panama City Beach, they're going to bring their crime and bad ways with them to Florida, a state that is considerably safer. Personally, I enjoy places like Siesta Key that are safe year-round. I love Panama City Beach, but it is true that when those people from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and even southern Georgia advance into Panama City Beach, they turn it into a somewhat undesirable place with their crime. But don't get the facts confused. Beach destinations along the coast of Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota are places that really have never had a huge crime problem. These are beaches that are safe throughout the whole entire year, except now half the tourism is gone because of this state law, SB 1718, and to blame it on spring break is clearly, well, a cover story for the truth. You cannot blame spring break for the fact that tourism in Florida is absolutely dead right now. The reason tourism is dead in Florida is because we were getting most of our tourists from Latin America, and those people are not coming here anymore. So let's not get the facts confused. Yes, spring break does get a little crazy. Yes, it is good to regulate and control that, but to make a statement out of controlling spring break and explaining why our tourism is low is completely irrelevant, and it's a manipulation of the factual circumstances. Those factual circumstances being that Florida's tourism is hurting because of SB 1718 and the message that it sent to people traveling to Florida. How can spring break be the reason businesses are empty when spring break has never been an important event in South Florida? Panama City Beach is a lot safer now than it was a few years ago. You can tell just by going there that crime is less than it was, but you still have a problem, and that is that the adjacent states have stronger regulations, worse prisons, and that means that people are always going to come to Florida to act a fool because in Florida punishment is less. The reason punishment is less in Florida is because crime is less. Look, I'm definitely for cleaning up Miami Beach. The last time we were there, it was pretty much empty, it was safe, it was nice, and we had a great time. And other times we've been to Miami Beach, it's been a complete madhouse. But keep in mind that Miami Beach has been like that for decades, and spring break isn't really the only problem time of the year in Miami Beach. But the reality remains the same. Florida has scared away a significant percentage of their tourists. And look, people from Latin America can be kind of annoying. They talk loud, they leave garbage on the beach, and they play music loudly. But they don't contribute to crime to a large degree. When you see events from other states, that's when crime really gets crazy. So while these Latin American tourists were kind of, well, a little bit annoying, if not frustrating at times, they definitely were not these crowds that get into shootings like when people from Alabama come into Florida. As long as the state of Florida continues to downplay the importance of their Hispanic communities and their contributions to the economy and undermining them while making legislation, you're going to continue to see the state of Florida suffer economically. While homicide rates in the United States are predicted to reduce in the next few years, in the state of Florida, they're actually increasing. It seems like all these new legislation that has gone into the state of Florida, like SB 1718, really hasn't made Florida a better place. Overdose rates continue to climb in North and Central Florida, while they remain about steady in South Florida, the predominantly Hispanic part of the state. Perhaps Florida should embrace the communities that contribute to tourism and have lower crime rates. Look at North Central Florida right now. North Central Florida right now is as bad as Kentucky when it comes to the opioid crisis. They're going through it really bad. We're starting to see homicide rates now going through the roof in North Central Florida. Sumter County, where the Villages sits, their homicide rate now is over 10 per 100,000. You're starting to see these counties in North Florida really suffer. But again, the state of Florida is focused mostly on catering to the hate sentiment of the people rather than actually understanding what the economy of the state depends on. And thus, we're seeing less tourism. We're also seeing less economical activity. And of course, rural communities are suffering, completely spiraling out of control. Even though tourism doesn't affect them, those communities are just rotting from the inside.